Max Phillips is only 22 years old. He writes on his website called Medium and he makes more than $500 each month. How does he do that? Well, this is definitely not sheer luck and it's definitely not coincidence. And in this video, in this live chat, this is exactly what we are going to find out. I'm so happy to welcome Max Phillips. He's from the UK and he's going to have a discussion today on about writing and finding success on Medium.
Hello.
Hi, Max.
It's good to be here.
I'm so happy that you agreed to do this. I'm sure it's going to be fun.
Yes, thank you for having me. Great to be here. Can't wait to do this.
Before we talk about Medium, I'm just curious to know, have you always been a writer? I mean, has writing always been your preferred form of creativity, expressing your creativity?
To be honest, when I was younger, I just played sport my entire life. I didn't really express my creativity in any way. I just sort of coasted through school. I wasn't really any good at English studies at school, and then as I got older, maybe like 16, I realized I was quite good at it, and we did loads of assessments and loads of creativity stuff, and I was like, oh, nice one, I'm good at this. So I thought I'd do it further studies, and then at A level, it's like further development here, and then it was really fun there, and I was like, I quite like writing, it's fun. I always found that creativity for me when I was younger was best done when I literally just wrote for half an hour without planning it or thinking about it, and that's how I expressed it. And then I went to university, and wasn't much creative writing there. But then after university, my dad showed me to Medium and blogging and stuff, and I find now that I actually express my creativity much better with writing and my thoughts and feelings than I would with talking, as the people closest to me can attest to. Because I'm not very an open person, but with writing, I talk about everything. So that's how I express my creativity, I'd say.
That's really wonderful. So, how long have you been writing on Medium?
So I joined last September, but then I uploaded like a few articles that I'd done before on a different website, and I just left it at that, and I didn't get thousands of views. And like most writers, I just quit for like 6 months. And then I had an article I'd been doing for like 2 months, and I just didn't really put any effort into it. And then my girlfriend told me to basically just publish it somewhere, finish it. She said it was like a Wednesday, and she said finish it by Friday. So I finished it, and then I published it somewhere, and that was in March. And I've been writing on there as much as I can ever since. So about 8 months in total.
Okay, so in just 8 months, you have come a long way. That's really amazing.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's been quite a journey, to be honest with you. It's been lots of ups and downs, as you probably know. But yeah, it's definitely can be hard, but mostly I'd say it's pretty good.
Definitely. So, how do you think that Medium has changed you as a writer? I mean, if you compare an article that you wrote in March and you compare it with now, how do you think you have changed or improved?
Number one thing is writing for an audience, because my whole life I've never written for an audience. It's only been like someone who's assessing it. So when I first started publishing, I didn't realize that the people who are reading it, they're the people that actually matter. So you need to tailor your work to them. So every time I write an article now, I go through it and I think, what value does this have to the reader? And that is, I definitely say, the number one thing. And also the tone of voice, because obviously in my life I've done literally always formal stuff, so very informal, university, higher education style of writing, fancy words, things like that. But people reading normal stuff don't really care about your extensive vocabulary, do they? So you just sort of simplify it and reduce everything that's unnecessary, and basically just get straight to the point, to be honest with you. That's what's probably the two biggest things that I've definitely learned.
Absolutely. I can relate to that because my old articles, if I look back at them now, they feel like they are diary entries. There is absolutely no takeaway for the reader.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Medium helps us in that way that we can learn how to write for an audience.
Yeah, like my first curated piece when curation was a thing. Feels like the olden days now, but it was in the post grad survival guide, and it was a piece about getting rejected for a job from Amazon. And I got like curated in two categories, and I literally my mind was blown. I was like, "How has this happened?" and that was the first time I realized because it had like an actual takeaway at the end, and it was like a good personal story. And I just, oh, okay, that's the way to do it. So ever since then, I've been applying the same lessons, and I always make sure to add. But if people see my articles, I always have like a top tip or like an actionable step at the end of a section, a paragraph, just to make it a bit more actionable for the reader, which is, I think, definitely the most important thing if you want to do well on Medium, at least.
I totally agree to that. And I also think that like when I talk about myself, like I didn't know that you need to add research in articles, but
True.
Medium has taught me that. Early on, I just used to make some random claims, but thanks to Medium, I have learned that you need to back up what you're saying by some credible source,
Yeah,
and
the
that
best thing I've definitely found is have a compelling personal story, but intertwine it with really good sources, like reputable sources, good quotes. And if the study is interesting, then explain that. So I think the combination of the two is definitely the winning formula.
true, true. So how do you pick topics that you want to write about on Medium?
Well, I first started writing about fitness when I first started out last September, um, because I literally been doing fitness my whole life. I work out most days, so I just thought I know stuff about that, so I'll just write about that. And then it was all right, but I don't really find it that interesting, to be honest. So I started doing some personal stories, did some ones about my parents' divorce and all of my friends' stories, my friends and family, all that. And I found it quite fun to write about that. And it got published in a publication. So I thought, well, some of the big writers on there seem to write about self improvement, personal development. So I just started doing that. And I have to say, it's really interesting. I'd say pick a topic that interests you, like I did, and explore that fully. And then once you've become more accustomed to it, then I think start branching out, because I've written about self improvement for ages, but I like to start pushing about. I did a film degree as well as an English degree at university, so I'm starting to write a bit more about films and their impact on society. I've got a few drafts, as you've seen. One of my pitches is about film, and yeah, it's just I think definitely something you enjoy, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be passionate about it, and if you're not passionate about it, your writing's going to suck. Basically, it's not going to have any energy, and the reader's going to know that.
That's so true. In my initial days, I used to see that yeah, some topic is doing really well on Medium, and I just
Mhm.
started writing about it blindly, and I wasn't passionate about it obviously, and the articles were really bad. So I've stopped doing that now, thankfully.
Yeah.
Do you think some topics work well on Medium, like some
Uh,
specific?
Yeah, if you go on the featured articles, um, there's always ones about tech I've seen lately, always ones about tech and always ones about politics, but it's usually American politics. So not being from America, it's like, well, I'm never going to be able to go into that with any real say. It'd be pretty pointless. And I know nothing about like software development and tech. So there, if you know a lot about those two, you could definitely go down that avenue and be quite successful quite quickly, I think. Um, Personal development obviously is pretty timeless. So if you don't know anything about it, you could train, you could work, you could write a lot, and you could probably get to the top. But it's a lot bigger field, so it's a lot harder. Other topics, they're probably the main ones, to be honest with you. You see occasionally some sports ones, um, a lot of relationships ones, but I'd say tech, politics, racism as well is obviously quite a big thing in a minute with like was it Momentum and uh, yeah, was it Zora as well? Yeah, the one you got published in. Yeah,
Then there is
yeah,
one called that's for men of color. Zora is for women of color.
yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so I say if you're really well knowledgeable in those areas, then go for those. because you don't really need to worry about much else. But there's that guy on Entrepreneur's Handbook. Like he's Alan. I can't remember his last name. He writes,
He
yeah,
starts with yeah.
that's it. Yeah, and he writes about like all these mental stories of like software programmers and CEOs selling companies for billions and all this sort of stuff. And he's always on the homepage. Like I went on the page without logging in, and like literally 10 of his articles were on there. So if you know stuff about tech, then go for it. I mean, I wish I did, to be honest with you. But yeah, personal development, self improvement, tech and politics, racism, that sort of thing. They're the biggest ones.
Right. So I like on your profile, the pinned article is about how you wrote 5 articles in a day. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So do you still do that? How is the writing process? How does it look like?
Well, I actually did that yesterday as well. I wrote 5 yesterday. When I say 5 articles a day, it's not 5 complete articles a day. It's 5 drafts. So I don't do it all the time. Sometimes I write 3 or 2 a day. On my best days, I write 5. But basically, what I'll do the night before is I'll spend a bit of time getting my headlines ready, my topics for the next day, and I'll put them down in my drafts and move them into the working project bit on a Trello board. And then I'll write down in my to-do list in my journal. I'll number them in the order that I want to do them in. Um, and then when I wake up the next morning, I'll just get to work, and I literally just do the draft all the way through without really stopping, without really looking for research. Um, don't really care about making it look nice. Just get the words out on the page, and then the next day or the day after, I'll edit it all. I also use an app. It's called Focus Keeper, I think, and I don't know if you know that the Pomodoro productivity technique. I don't know if you've heard of that. So I use that, and it's really good. It's 25 minutes on, 5 minute rest, four times around, then a half an hour break, and then just do that for the whole day. And it helps time block my day, so I'm not just working for 3 hours straight, and then I burn out for 2 hours, and I waste time, and then the rest of the day sucks. So I just think it's more manageable that way.
I what's the name of that app? Focus?
Focus Keeper.
Okay, I hadn't heard about it, but I think I
Mhm.
recently read your article about it where you had mentioned the app.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
maybe it was an article, right?
yeah. I've only started using it the last few days, so I've been using the technique, but I was only just timing it on the phone's normal timer, and it wasn't very good because I'd look at the timer will go off, and then I just stop and I'd lose track of time for like 15 minutes, and then my whole routine sort of gone askew. But with this, it's like it gives me a little ding when the timer goes up, and it's just like says, "All right, get back to work," and I'm like, "Yeah, all right, yes, boss."
Right. So are you a full-time writer? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I finished university last year, and I was trying to find a job, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was applying for jobs, and didn't get one. And I just became a bit sad about it, and so then I took a part-time job in a retail store, and I worked there for. I quit in September of this year. I worked there for a year because I just thought I could probably give this a go, and since I've given it a go, I've had the 2 best months I've ever had. So I think it's definitely worth it. So yeah, now I spend my days just just writing, preparing articles for Medium, for Newsbreak now, and I'm trying to find some freelance work as well as enhancing my email list as well. So it's pretty busy days, to be honest with you.
Right. I actually feel that for anyone who's looking to make a full-time living through writing, Medium is definitely one of the best options available right now.
Yeah,
I don't know about
100%.
news, it's still very new, but Medium sounds like a very bankable option.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say how you should diversify your income streams, and I 100% agree with that. But if you're looking to start out, definitely Medium is the place to go because if you work hard and you do the right stuff, you can make a decent amount of money on there.
Right.
There's so many success stories like yours this month has been amazing. So well done on that. And there's just like loads of people that make thousands.
Absolutely. So, how did you go about building a writing habit? because many people they struggle to create content on a daily basis. So, any
Hmm.
tips you'd like to give to people who are struggling to write something every day?
Number one, get a journal. That's probably my biggest tip. I never had one until a few months ago, where my girlfriend and I were in this shop in Cardiff, in Wales, and it was a really nice shop, and we got a journal. It's this one here, and I just love writing in it, and I write down all my ideas and my to-do lists. I do some rough lists for publications and headlines that I might want. And just putting all your thoughts out on a page it really helps visualize your creativity, because you can't really just expect to be creative in a moment. Of course, that happens, but it's not very sustainable. So that's probably my number one. My number two is devote some time to creating headlines and ideas every day or every other day at least. Because there's probably not a lot worse for a writer when you sit staring at your drafts and there's nothing there. There's nothing up for submission. You haven't got drafts ready, and you just sat there staring at your screen like, what am I going to do? It's not great. So those two are probably my top tips. And then I'd say just just start writing. Really, just put pen to paper, put your fingers on a keypad, get going, and you're onto a winner already. Because I can't remember where I read it, but it was a quote saying all you need is 200 rubbish words to start your day. They're always the hardest, as with anything like procrastination. It's just the thought of getting going is the hardest thing. And once you do get going, you're good to go. And that's what I think. Just literally, if you're struggling, just write something and see where it takes you. I've had many an article I've written for, like, I had one for PS I Love You Ready, and then it's turned into a My Cafe article. So you don't really know where it's going to go, but if you just start, it's going to go somewhere.
Definitely. I totally agree with those tips that you gave because I used to write a journal before, but only after joining Medium, I started doing this idea thing, like
Hmm.
article idea, headline thing. And it really, really works. Like, this is my journal right here. And
Hmm.
if you have these ideas, then I also try to outline some of them that I plan to write. So if I have I title and if I have a vague outline, then the writing process becomes much easier. If you just stare at a blank screen, it's so difficult. You don't know
Hmm.
where you're going to go, where you're going to start. But having these pen and paper things really help, right?
Definitely, yeah. They also have a Trello board, like I mentioned. I don't know if you have one as well, but I saw it from Eva on our mastermind group, and you basically just have ideas, working projects, edit, submitted, rejected, published. And it's just a nice way, like on a Sunday, because I don't work on Sundays, but on a Sunday night, I'll transfer ideas into working projects for the next day, as well as writing them in my list. I think it just helps solidify that tomorrow is going to be filled with creation and creativity and things like that.
That's so nice. I have actually never used Trello. I don't know much about it. Is it available for free or is
Yeah,
there
yeah.
some?
It's just a website. You I think you make an account and then you just literally have my little idea boards next to one another. You can edit the background. I have it on a tab open literally all the time. And yeah, I mean, I have tons of ideas that I've not looked at in like 2 months because they probably never get written. But it's nice to have a bank there. Like, I was struggling for a fifth idea yesterday, and I just looked there and I found one that I forgot about, and I wrote it within an hour. So yeah.
That's really nice. I'm definitely going to give Trello a try because many people have recommended Trello that it's very easy to keep track of your ideas and store your
Hmm.
ideas for the future. I
Yeah.
mostly write them on my journal, but I haven't written them in soft format. But Trello seems like a good place. I have
Yeah.
heard of Notion a lot, but I haven't tried Notion yet.
I haven't tried that one. I also tell you a good tip for Trello is I color code all the publications that I'm going to submit it to, so I know which one's out for which. And if one gets rejected for one, I can see without having to think about it that much. It's just a nice way of visualizing it more, really.
So when you're talking about publications, Do you prefer to, send your work to several publications, or do you prefer sticking to a few publications only?
I prefer sticking to the big ones, really. So I don't think stick to one or two. I have like PS I Love You, Mind Cafe, This Scent. It's probably my go-to because although they're a bit slow, they pretty much accept probably about 85% of my articles. So I go there a lot. Better Marketing for the writing ones. Entrepreneur's Handbook I've been in lately. So they're the main ones that I normally do. Sometimes a startup. Um, and then I just do those as like a core basis because it's nice to know what each one wants because I think when you have too many, you don't know what they want, so you can fall into the trap of just putting yourself out there too much, and um, yeah, and your work gets rejected, and your work getting rejected. It's not a very nice feeling. I mean, it's normal, but it's still not very nice. Um, so I think have a few that you know well, and you know your articles will perform on, and make sure it works for them, and you'll be good to go. So and also just try to get in the medium mode ones every week. So I send like one or two pictures every week to Forge or one of the new ones, something like that. So just basically the core ones, and then try and get onto the better ones.
That's amazing. That's a great tip. I was yeah. So I want to ask you this, that recently you have published like two or three articles that are self-published. So,
Hmm.
what's your opinion on self-publishing articles? Like, do you think they get equal traction as the ones in publications?
Definitely not. But I only published those because they got bounced around, and I thought they were alright, but they didn't have a nice fit. And I just thought people might like them, and I just want to get stuff out there really, just to make my Medium page not look so sparse. And it was a bit of an experiment because there was one I posted the other week or last week or something, and it got curated within a day, despite self-publishing it, which is weird because then I have had other ones, and this lasted 3 weeks before getting curated. So I mean, the views are definitely less because you don't have 100,000 followers compared. I only have like 1,300 or something. Um, but yeah, if you're going to publish, go for publication, especially if you're new. Self-publishing, if you've got 5 followers, it's going to get no views. Let's be realistic. Um, but if you just want to get stuff out there and you know it's good, self-publishing is fine. Probably not the most sustainable way of doing things.
True, true. Because I think if you self-publish a really good article and it gets curated, then there is a chance that some publication might pick it up.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, there is
That,
one publication that's owned by Medium. It's called Human Parts, and there
hmm.
is no way to submit to them. The only way is that you have to write a self-published piece, and if they find you, it's good. Otherwise, there is no submission guidelines for
Yeah,
them.
it's a bit of a gamble. Like I wrote one in like May, and I thought I couldn't find fit for anywhere, but I sent it to Invisible Illness and they accepted it. And I came across Human Parts after that. I was just like, well, that probably would have been a good fit. But then I don't know if they would have accepted it. Um, but it was already on Invisible Illness, so it's sort of like it's a bit of a guessing game of those. So it's just you've got to use your own judgment, really. Like that's how I got into the startup with that writing. I self-published an article over the summer, I think, and 3 weeks later, you got curated and writing, and they published it the next day. The same thing happened with Curious. I self-published one there, and they wanted it in Curious, so it does work, but not most of the time.
Yeah, it's like a gamble, like you said.
Yeah.
I haven't self-published a piece in a long time because I'm
Hmm.
always terrified that what if it fails? And so I just try to send it to some publication at least, if not big ones, even the smaller ones. I try to do that.
Hmm. Yeah, I
When
agree.
you send your, yeah,
It's definitely it's definitely a gamble. Um, if you're going to publish in the small ones, sometimes they do work. Like the ones with 2,000, you've got a small publication that's doing quite well at the minute, from what I saw about your stats. But then you've got some that look big but aren't big. So you've got the Illumination one, which is I think it's got
yeah,
40,000 followers, But my articles have never got more than 200 views on there or 300
I
views.
just got like 100 views or something like that on Illumination.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's either you publish in a publication, take them seriously. So notice how much they publish, if they do anything, if they look for mistakes, if they publish like 20 or 30 articles a day, you might want to look elsewhere, because although your thing, I remember at the start, like some of mine, like Age of Awareness and Illumination, are like, oh, that's right at the top of the page, and then you refresh it and it's gone. It's okay, well that was great for like 5 seconds, but what do I do now? But then you've got some other ones. There's like there's one writer, I don't know if you know who she is. She's named Fab Jean Vati, I think her name is. She does like marketing stuff. She has her own one called Creative Handbook. It's only got like less than 1,000 followers, but I published one with her. She stuck it on the bit of the page where like they do their best articles, and I'm pretty sure it's still there. So it can be worthwhile. I mean, I don't think it's got that many views, but if you want to support people who you know are doing good jobs, then go for it. But yeah, as I say, it's just down to your best judgment, really.
Right. I think small publications, if they're really targeted, if they have a niche, then that works well. Because Illumination does not really have a niche. It's like wide range of topics are accepted, right? Because
Yeah,
recently one article I saw on my publication, it was written by somebody else. It was in one day, it was read for over 150 hours. And I was so shocked because none of my articles have been read for that much in one day. So
yeah,
I was very
that's
happy
mental.
looking at the stats. It just went, you had a huge spike recently because of that one article.
That's mental. That's in one day. That's very impressive.
Exactly. So we have a question from the audience. It's by
Mm-hmm.
Bhajan Singh. He's asking, what inspires you to write in the starting phase when you're not getting any views or clap?
That's a good question. I just say the need to. You've got to realize that even though there's no one looking at your work and there's thousands of viewers out there, thousands of readers, thousands of writers, you still have something important to say. Everyone, even though something like self improvement has been covered hundreds and hundreds, thousands of times by so many different people, you're your own person. You have your own unique experiences. You have your own way you can spin things. And so, if you care about something passionately enough, someone else likely cares as well. And that's what I told myself the entire time at the start. No one's reading your work, but some people are. I mean, even if 10, 20 people read your work, that's 10 or 20 complete strangers. And I mean, it may be probably your mum, but that's complete mental. That's completely mental. Just the fact that 10 whole strangers have read your work, it's ridiculous, really, when you think about it. Um, and then I just think, yeah, you've got your own story to tell, and people will care if you think that if you love it enough, they'll care. So just work for yourself when you're writing at the start. Don't write for anyone else, because I mean, obviously, write for the reader. That's important, but if you're just looking at how many views you get, you're not going to get anywhere. It will cripple your confidence. So just work on the next piece. Work on your story. Work on the unique thing you have to say.
That's really valuable advice. I think that's very true also. And I actually joined Medium in a long time back, but I was never really serious here. I started being serious here in May. So I
Mm-hmm.
was just looking at my stats, and last year in November, I saw my earnings. It was like $6 something, and
Mm-hmm.
this month it's like 700 or something. So there are people who give up initially if they don't get views. But even I didn't get views, but I kept writing because I felt that this platform has potential. And you see so much success stories. So if you really love writing and you have a story to share, I think it's best if you just stick on, because initially no one gets success in their first month. But if you stick on,
Definitely.
you'll definitely do it, right?
Like I made probably like 50 cents, $4, something like that for months. And then I started in March, like at the end of March, I made about $10. Then I made about $11. And then for like 3 months, I made like $100. And then since then, it's just gone up and up and up every single month. I mean, I don't think this month's going to be as good as last month, but still, it's consistently high. And it's just, you just got to believe that it will get there. It's a slow process, and that's why most writers quit, because that's why I quit for a few months. It's they just think, oh, because other people have got 40,000 claps and $10,000, they think, oh, well, fine. If I just write a few articles, then yeah, that'll work. But these people have thousands of followers, they have thousands of views consistently, and people know their names. So you could write one Wonder article and it'll get you $1,000, but you're not going to be sustained after that. So you just need to keep going. Really, just keep going.
Exactly, like slow progress, but it's still progress, right? Even if you
Yeah,
don't make
definitely.
$100 in the first month, which is very rare, obviously. So,
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
only like the top 6% of writers earn $100 at all. So I mean, if you're doing that, then congrats, because you're in the top 6% on the platform. So there's credits to you. So just take every achievement as it comes, I think.
of course. So, let's talk about newsletters. Do you
Oh
think
yeah.
every writer needs a newsletter?
I think if you want to make it, if you want to grow your following into a more like sustainable audience, a bigger audience, and eventually sell things, if you want to make it a full-time career, then yeah, I think you do need one. Um, but I don't think it's essential in the early stages. Like, I think I'm still quite early on in my career. Like my newsletter is tiny. I've had it for a while. I haven't really done anything with it. I just have made a link, a landing page, and I send out 1 or 2 weekly emails. Um, it's not very big at all, but um, yeah, in the long run, definitely. I did Tom Kugler, one of the biggest writers on the platform. I did his Medium course, and he said something like every subscriber is worth like what is $1, I think. So if 1,000
Really?
subscribers, it's $1,000. And I like that way of thinking, because when you get a product to sell, you can sell it to your email course and they'll get it straight into their inbox, and you never know who might see it. So definitely in the long run, but if you're starting out, even just a few months in, and like I like making Medium a priority. I'm trying to do other things now. I'm doing it full time, but I like making Medium a priority because it's a more readily accessible form of income. Obviously, I write because I like to write, but money is important. Um, and the newsletter is not the most profitable, definitely not the most profitable thing for me right now. So I am starting to get to grips with that, as I have been for a while. I mean, I've been putting off doing stuff for ages, but yeah, definitely a long run. But if you're just starting out, just write articles, you'll be fine.
Definitely. So, do you send out newsletters do you have a schedule that you're going to send it out only on this particular day, or do you send them out randomly whenever you feel you have something to say?
I send them out once a week, usually towards the end of the week. Sometimes I completely forget a week, so the next week I'll send two. Um, but yeah, I don't really have a regimented schedule towards it. But then the way I look at it, when I'm subscribed to a few writers' newsletters, and I don't remember what days they send them on at all. So my subscribers aren't going to remember what days I send them on. So to me, it doesn't really matter that much. So I usually send it on a Thursday or a Friday, but it doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter hugely.
Right, right. And what's your opinion on writing something completely new for a newsletter or versus sending your already published articles via links in the newsletter?
Um, I think writing something new is good because they could get value out of it. Um, but then I think people subscribe to your email list because they like what they've seen, and you basically just send them what you think is your best work of the last week, and so they're just giving them more of what you think they're like. So I'm just going off the fact that because my newsletter link was in my bio, and people obviously clicked that because they like my work. So I think just send them more of what you've got is definitely an easier way of doing it. Um, and in the early stages, at least, and even in the bigger stages, like I subscribe to Tim Denig's newsletter, and it's literally just him sending his most highlighted quote of the week and his most popular article of the week, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty basic. So I don't think email like newsletters need to be that complicated. If you've got a massive story, then people probably aren't going to read it because people scroll when they're off within 10 seconds. So Don't overcomplicate it. Just if you really just want to start it and grow some followers, just maybe put like a helpful tip, like I do, or and then anything really. But don't overcomplicate it.
Right, because I have seen your newsletter. You send an article and then you give one advice, right?
Yeah,
So
I did just send an article, but I thought I'd add a bit more in there, just like a little quick thing to people so people can take away.
by the way, when I told my friends that I was doing a chat with you, then one of my friends said, "Oh, Max Phillips, he is the poster boy of the Ascent, right? Because you publish a lot in the Ascent." So that's
Oh
when.
yeah, that would make sense. I do like there was one weekend a few weeks ago. I had like 7 articles in 3 days on there. It was pretty mad.
That's crazy. Right? So
Yeah,
yeah, when I tell people that I write on Medium, most of the people have this opinion that if you have your own blog, you're more credible. If you write on a website like Medium or say Vocal or Quora, that's not very credible. Some people have the opinion. So I'd like to ask you, what is your take on writing on Medium versus starting your own blog?
I think that view is a load of rubbish, to be honest with you. Um, to be frank, I had a blog before Medium. It was a fitness blog because I sort of thought about the idea of getting into writing, and my dad was like, "Why don't you get a blog?" So I bought a domain name. I tried to set it all up on WordPress, um, and I wrote some articles. It was about fitness, and I got I got barely any views, and it felt great because I owned it, but like I didn't no idea what I was doing. Um, I didn't feel like I was getting any like credit for it. I didn't feel like I was doing any proper writing. I just felt like I was swimming in some really, really deep water, and I was a tiny little fish. So, um, but then that you come to Medium, and it just makes everything easier. You have your own profile. You can design it now. Um, you write your own stuff, and it goes out to what people. It's guaranteed to go out to people, especially if you publish in publications. So if you have a blog, it's going to take you forever to get traffic unless you promote it on your social media or get adverts and things like that. I've started reading that Nicholas Cole book that I saw that you recommended, so I decided to read it myself. I've read the opening few bits, and he was saying how like blog writing is pretty much archaic nowadays because it's so slow. Um, everything on the internet is so fast paced that Medium it just goes with that. So if you're looking for credit, then they'll look no further than Medium. You can get claps if you really want that for those sort of things. You can get views, you can get comments. Whereas a blog, you just sort of you get a chart and it tells you how many stats you got, and it's probably going to be underwhelming. So and it's a lot harder work. And when you start out writing, you want just to write, and Medium allows you to do that.
Absolutely. And also, like you said, it's very difficult to get audience, and you need to do all these SEO and other stuff to rank your posts on Google. But Medium has a very good, I don't know what it's called, domain something, that whenever someone searches particular topics on Google, Medium posts usually come up on the first front page of Google.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's a very useful thing because it would take you several years to reach there with your own blog. But on Medium, you can do that with your first article if it's quality.
I mean,
And
if you get quite big, then I think make your own website to then have your products on your
right,
website to then sell, but that's pretty pointless if you don't have a big following or anything to sell. So start out Medium definitely.
definitely, yeah, like if you are someone of Mark Manson's level, then you can have your own website. But
Exactly.
other than that, it's better to write on Medium because the ready-made audience is there and you can get lots of views.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. So, do you have any tips on how someone can go about building meaningful relationships with publication owners or editors?
Well, publication owners, even though they reject your work and may leave blunt comments, they're on your side. That's the thing I've learned the most. They want your stuff to be published because they want views on their publication, which gives their views, which gives their articles more work, and then they can get more opportunities to do that. So they want your work to be published. It's just if it's not the right fit for them, then it's not. Like I've had articles rejected from the Postgrad and then published it in the Ascent, and it's fine. And usually they really appreciate your work. So number one thing is just to remind yourself that they want your work to go out, and just be kind to them, because they're not getting paid extra to do these publications. They're free. Um, so they're putting in all the work for you, and you just got to admire that, really. And also uh, go through your work meticulously through Grammarly, read it out loud, read it twice, just so you can pick out the spelling mistakes. Like the other week, I submitted a piece to the Entrepreneur's Handbook, and I put it through Grammarly, or I don't know what I did, because I must have completely forgotten, because there was a ton of copy editing mistakes. It still got accepted, and he went through them. Like, there was a lot of them. He went through them and told me what to change, and I was really grateful for it. He was just like, make sure you read it out loud. It's just like, clearly, he was like, because if when you do that, we can spend more time like reading your work for what it is and publishing other people's work. And so yeah, that makes sense. So read your work a few times, be nice to them, and if you really want to make a relationship, offer your help. Like, we've got the Mind Cafe editor in our thing now, our mastermind group, which is awesome, and it doesn't take much. Just show you're an active member of the community, and they'll probably reciprocate.
Right, definitely. And if you send them a lot of work, like a lot of quality content, quality
Hmm.
articles, then it's possible that the editors might reach out to you on other social media platforms and then want to extend the relationship and become friends. It's
Exactly.
possible, right? Because that's how Jordan of Mind Cafe, he asked me about our a mastermind group, because I was sending so many articles to Mind Cafe at that time. So maybe that's a good strategy that I have seen works, that send out a huge volume of work.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So yeah, Max, thank you so much for answering all these questions. I had a really great time chatting with you. You made some really amazing points, and I totally agree with all of what you said. It was fun.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been great getting insights into what I think about Medium. I've quite enjoyed talking about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
See you again soon. Bye.
Bye bye.
So everyone, that was Max Phillips. He is a really great writer. I'll leave the links to follow Max in the description. Make sure to check out his articles because he writes really amazing stuff. And I'll see you again soon. Bye. Thanks for watching.